Even though some of these are not good movies, I appreciate these actually hitting the movie theaters. Chase, we hockey with the Blue Futon, reviewing Consecration. So, what's this about? The pretty simple premise, actually. There's a girl who is an eye doctor, if you want to put it that way, and she gets a horrible phone call saying her brother is part of a murder suicide. Now she has to go to Scotland to see the body and see what actually ensued. Is she evil? Is her brother evil? Is the church evil? What is going to happen in this movie? So, do you like this movie? Not really. It felt a little boring. It felt rushed, which is really weird for a rushed movie that's boring. That's kind of a weird mixture, isn't it? But I have to give credit where credit is due with some of the good acting, some good atmosphere, and some good cinematography of the location of Scotland. So with the pauses, I'll say one thing is that the acting is pretty good. Everyone involved knows their roles, knows the dialogue, and kind of plays it, and they kind of could tell, and you could kind of tell they're having a fun time with what they were playing with on screen. Also, the look of the film, having the Scottish look and the UK look, it is fun to look at, and it looks nice. It does look nice. You're like, oh, I wish I could visit that church, because that church does look like it's a pretty nice looking church with the outskirts looking gorgeous as well. So it's a win-win on that level. Now, I would say the story is a little bit fun, where you're like, oh, where's this trying to go? But then when you get to the overall conclusion of the story, you're like, you really don't say anything whatsoever. So, when talking about the negatives of the film, I think the biggest fault is the pacing and the story. Because when looking at the story, it makes zero sense. It is very jumpy, where it goes from idea to idea to idea to idea, and it just doesn't flow and make a perfect puzzle like you want it to. For example, the whole point of this is this brother and sister have a connection with being able to speak or write this specific dialogue. However, when you think about the story about who is the bad person in this movie and who isn't the bad person in this movie, and how they could both understand this dialogue, I don't know if that really makes sense whatsoever. Also, the twist at the end of how people are killing each other and who is doing it, you're like, so is this a doppelganger? Is it out of body experiences? Can this person morph into a different timeline? It really doesn't talk about how anything is possible in this film. And if this person really is the birth of the devil, if you want to put it that way, how did that happen? There's really no talk about how it happened. Yes, they go into this weird backstory like the 1800s, how there's like a witch trial in UK, and how this girl wears a weird mask and they're doing this kumbaya type of thing in the forest. But if that happens, does that mean like that girl has never grown up throughout the 200 years? Like, they just don't explain anything whatsoever. That's the whole thing about this story. They show a lot of stuff on screen, but they don't explain anything when it is on screen. And when they do try to explain it, you're like, huh? It would make more sense that if the person doing this stuff was actually someone completely different, but it is not. So you just go, I don't know what is happening. And at the very end, you understand what they're going for, but then you don't, because the very end, you have a shot of a little angel like in the back window going like this, but the person who's narrating the story is supposed to be this one person and saying like, well, I didn't believe in this stuff, and my brother said I had a guardian angel. Well, maybe I do now. So that makes me think, is that angel supposed to be like Michael the Archangel? And then this person narrating the story is supposed to be like the devil's sibling? But then why should the angel have a guardian angel? And if that guardian angel has anything to do with what happened, should that person be alive that happened at the end? Like I said, there's so many like what the hell moments do I need to think about in this story, because like I said, it jumps everywhere. The pacing is way too quick. And I know that sounds really weird. I just wish this movie would slow down a little bit and just give me a little bit more information, because then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is a happy family. And then boom, there's kids in cages. There's kids in cages out of nowhere. And this dad is going crazy because he was supposed to be dead and alive. I don't know. Like I said, they just throw so much stuff. And there's also a scene where this girl's driving, and I don't know if the headlights are just completely wrong with the CGI. So it looks like she's driving, these cars are literally like flying off the cliff. And I'm like, what is going on? And there's also a final scene where these nuns are like falling from this church on a cliff, because that's a huge part. And my goodness, that CGI. Ugh. So overall, consecration. I don't know. It's it's a Shudder movie. Like I said, I'm glad movies like this are hitting the movie theaters. So that gives more people to go to the movie theater and have that experience, so movie theaters don't die. However, I don't know if this is one that should have just stayed on Shudder, which I just don't know what the Shudder IFC films, because Shinamalakan or whatever, Shimraken. I forgot our movie already, where you stare at the corner and you stare at carpet and you stare at Legos. Shinamadick, whatever. Consecration, eh. So Consecration will receive a 1.5 out of 5 Futons, which equals at 30%. So let's see the critics' news scores gave this one. So you have critics a 41% with 41 of them. Audience score 25% with fewer than 50, no critic consent. So I'm kind of in the between with the 41, the 30, and the 25. I have to agree. Chase out with the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what things Futon told you. Blue Futon, thank you. Watch. Have a great day. And yeah, you have like this Devil Conspiracy. There's a lot of religious movies coming out, and so you know what? Just bring them on. Like I said, if anything hits movie theaters, I will see it. The next one was an interesting one by myself.